Hello everyone, it's April here, and today I am going to attempt to make an Anastasia American Girl doll. This was a highly suggested doll whenever I released my video about the Swan Princess, so let's make her. I got this TLC doll with a wonky eye and a whole bunch of marks, along with being just generally dirty. Her leg popped off as I was moving her around, so I'm going to start with a stuffing cleanse, then a hair removal treatment, and now for the magic eraser scrub. Wow, look at that difference. I have to say, more marks are coming off than I thought would. Here is the sheet after cleaning everything. I did go ahead and remove her eyes to see if I could repair them, but the post is broken off, and since that's a more in-depth repair, I'm just going to replace them for right now, and then I might fix the eye later. I think some of these remaining marks will come off with acetone. I'm also going to go ahead and remove the eyebrows and blush at the same time. There are still some marks left, mainly on her face. I will now start her acne treatment for all the remaining blemishes. We are 16 hours in on the treatment. The large marker mark on her face is already gone. There is still a little pink in the eyebrow area, and I completely missed this mark below her nose. I always kind of feel like I'm on a dinosaur dig whenever I'm cleaning up the fingers after a treatment. There is still some pink on both hands, and on this arm you can see that it is working. The vinyl is lighter. There is still a dark spot in the middle, and FYI, when the vinyl lightens like this, it's no worries. It will go back to its original color. Something I wish I would have known when I first started all of this. It's not something people talk about a lot, but it will get lighter, but it goes right back to the same color. I got everything ready for its second treatment, and I ordered up a wig from Dallas Doll Co. And then I waited for fabric to go on sale at Hobby Lobby. Luckily, I didn't have to wait long, since that happens every other week. In the meantime, I made the bottom box. This process is very similar to making the box lid. You need a sizable piece of cardboard for this project, though. I'm using a 28-inch by 40-inch tri-fold display board. It is still a little bit small, but it works. I lay out my cardboard, then I lay the factory box bottom on top of it. I trace it, then I cut it out. I use a bone folder tool to score the creases and then fold everything into place. And since it is a bit small, the flaps don't lock down like they do on an AG box, so I do have to glue those down. After another 8 hours, her head blemishes are now gone, so I add a coat of Mr. Super Clear, although I should have put her eyes in first. So let's do that now. Her eyes are a very pretty, vibrant blue, so I will be using these Dallas Doll Co. eyes for her. I do install these eyes flat down because the backing is larger on these than the American Girl doll ones. But I am careful not to push on the eyeball part because I don't want to break them. After the head cooled back down, it was time for the face-up. Anastasia's eyebrows are solid, but I wanted to give her a slightly more realistic look, so I drew them on with a brown watercolor pencil in a more natural style. I painted her lips a metallic red, and I just want to say this part always sucks when there isn't any lip paint left, but I had to remove it to get the stain off of her. It's so easy to overdo it when you're doing the lips. If you make them too large, they look ridiculous, or if you are placing the bow on the top lip, it's so easy to get that a little off to the side. But surprisingly this time, it went pretty smooth. I contoured her nose using a brown watercolor pencil and a Q-tip with just a little bit of moisture on it. Once it was blended, I did add some white to the tip of her nose to finish it off. I lined her eyes with a black watercolor pencil, and then I went over it with a watered down black acrylic paint, adding the lashes with it. And honestly, this took me so long. It was probably 2 hours of adding and removing until I was happy with them. I couldn't even film it very well because I had the head so close to my face as I was drawing on the liner over and over again. So, sorry I'm not showing you the whole process. It was extremely long. It was excruciating. I always have trouble adding eyeliner. It's so hard to get it just right. Now for my favorite part of every face up, adding the blush. Using a pink watercolor pencil dipped in water and smoothing it out with my finger. I love adding blush. It's always what makes the face come the most alive for me, and it's usually pretty easy. Before doing the final coat of Mr. Super Clear, I do need to pierce her ears. To pierce her ears, I will be using a 5/64 drill bit and an awl. I have quite a bit of practice doing this, but if it is your first time, I do recommend marking the ears using a pencil before drilling so that you can make them nice and even. But you know me, I like to craft dangerously. Once I have drilled into her head, I stab the hole once more with an awl, pushing it in about halfway, stretching the hole to be big enough for the earring stud. What an interesting life I lead. Now for the final coat of Mr. Super Clear. And you might be wondering why I always do this at night, and it's because that is the main time that I work on my dolls, because my kids are asleep and I do that thing. What is it they call it? I believe they call it revenge bedtime procrastination. Yep, that. I do that. I decided on white for the box top lid, and you'll see why in a minute. If you have never seen me make a box top lid before, first of all, where have you been? And second of all, if you want to make one yourself, you will need a poster board and an American Girl doll box top, a straight edge, I use this random piece of metal, a bone tool, although that is probably optional, and you're going to need some scissors and a pencil. Oh, and also tape, glue, sandpaper. I tried this new way of cutting out the viewing window that involved a bowl and a box cutter, but that's really not necessary. Anyways, you trace your AG doll box top onto a poster board. It will be a bit small on one end, but don't worry, we'll fix that later. Use your straight edge and a boning tool to make the indents wherever the AG box folds. Cut it out. Now use the leftover edge to add the little bit that was short. See, I told you we'd fix it later. And now you're going to tape that. And then on top of a cutting mat, I used a box cutter running it along the side of the bowl to make the viewing window hole. So after that, I used a sanding pad to smooth the edge of it. And there you have it. Not really, I was just joking. I was out of Elmer's glue, so then I used E6000 instead on the flaps, pinning them in place to dry. I also glued down the clear viewing window that I made from an old Barbie box. Now for the design. I did some editing on this movie poster and printed it out. I cut off the excess white, and then I practiced painting trees for the first time. I haven't painted with watercolors since I was a little girl, and boy was I not good at it then, but I have watched some videos about it over the years, so here we go. It's not perfect, but I think it gets the point across, and once I get the letters placed, I might add some more, but in the meantime, I think I'm happy with it. Her wig is here, and I think it is perfect. This one is called Scarlet Rose, and it is so pretty! I'm gluing it down with, you guessed it, E6000. I made the pattern for a dress, and I will be reusing a glove pattern piece that I made for something else. I used to cut out my glove patterns, but then I realized it would be so much easier if there was more fabric to work with. So now I sew around my pattern and then cut off the excess fabric. Genius, right? I did forget to hem the edge, so I'm going to do that before I run out of room to work with. And once I'm done sewing, I cut off the excess fabric, as I said, and turn the glove right side out.
Wow! Let's do that again!
Can you give me a hand? Well, I guess a whole arm works too. I really don't know why you guys put up with me, but anyways, I will be lining this dress, not only because it will give it more structure, I am hoping it will make the velour fabric easier to work with because it's quite stretchy and it's easy to pull it while sewing, throwing everything off. It is not my favorite fabric to work with, but I'm gonna do it. There, I did it. Now I will drape the back part of her dress. I finished the edges with a zigzag stitch, singed the edges just for that little extra touch, and I added jewels with the help of my daughter. Then I wanted to add even more sparkle, and I achieved that with some sparkle spray. And you may be thinking to yourself, that fabric isn't very thick. Will the spray go right through it and stick to her desk? And the answer to that is yes. Yes, it will. Okay, after so many hours that I lost count, the pink was finally off of her fingers and it was time to restring her. So I did go into restringing in more detail in this video, so let's skip ahead to restuffing the body. When restuffing a body, I like to add a few handfuls of stuffing at a time, packing them in between. I personally use Hermione's wand for this, but any stick-like item should work fine. The bottom part is very important. You want to make sure the butt area looks like she hasn't been skipping out on squats, and you also want to pack around the leg cups well, otherwise it will crease and she won't stand correctly. I really didn't want to try cutting out the letters after the Swan Princess box, so I ordered a Cricut Joy instead, and some vinyl. Oh. I do have to say, though, it was overall fairly user-friendly. The first label I made for the box was way too big, but that was my own fault. I was so excited to try it that I didn't even pay attention to the measurements. But after some trial and error and some app glitches, I was finally successful. And once again, I decided to top off this whole ensemble with an Anastasia DVD using an AG box book holder so it fits perfectly in the box.
May I present Her Royal Highness the Grand Duchess Anastasia.
Oh, Sophie. Monsieur.
Say I'm not a princess or a duchess or whatever she is, right?
Well, that one's done. As per usual, she will be available in my Etsy shop. I also have some stickers and diamond paintings of some of my previous work available in there as well, and there is a link for that in the description below. That is all I have for you today. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, and I hope you have an adorable day.